Do you feel beautiful? Do you love what you see in the mirror? Do you have any confidence issues? If you do, this is the episode to tune into. I am joined today by my beautiful friend, Wendy Lana, and she is here to talk to me today about what it means to feel beautiful and how you can feel more beautiful in your life every single day. If you're a woman who's on a path of healing and transformation, it's time to live your heart out. My name is Nancy Ma, and I'm a physiotherapist, a family woman, and a dreamer just like you. Join me each week as I share a way of living where you'll feel more alive, vibrant, and free. I'm so excited that Wendy is here with me today. Thank you, Wendy, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So Wendy is a photographer, and I met you probably about 7 years ago.
Yeah, 7 years
ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I met Wendy, first of all, I noticed her beautiful eyes, and I was just like, wow, she has such beautiful eyes, and it's no wonder she's an amazing photographer. I think with your eyes, you see beauty in a different way than most people, and this is why you're here today. I want to hear all about your perspective of what it means to be beautiful and to capture beauty on camera. So I invited Wendy back to my home and to take some kind of lifestyle photos of the family. And after we did that one shoot, I looked at these pictures and I wanted to cry because I've never felt so seen. And the way the pictures showed up, it's just, I felt that was, wow, you captured my family in such a way that just really showed how happy we were. And
you just had Nyla at the time.
We just had Nyla.
Yeah, Wesley wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
I remember there was, because I've been here several times.
You've been here several times. Yes. You know, everybody thinks like you're my personal photographer.
Yeah.
Because well, you like that. Yeah.
Friend photographer.
But so, and I realized that a big part of my confidence is, I think because I've taken so many pictures over the last 7 years of being here, and you've captured me in a way that makes me feel so good. And I think that's what so many women are missing, is that confidence in being themselves on camera, because they're not confident in themselves when they're outside of the camera or when the camera's not around. So let's start with this question of what makes someone photogenic on camera.
So I think, traditionally, I guess I Googled it. I did Google it in preparation for this interview. So traditionally, the definition of beauty is like high cheekbones, strong jawline, things like that, certain space symmetrical,
face.
Yeah. So by the standard of American beauty, or, supermodels or whatever. But I mean, I photographed everywhere. I've photographed everyone. So I photographed models, I photographed women, men of all different ages. And I truly, it's going to sound so cliche about the whole happiness within thing. However, it is very true. So it feels to me that if someone is lacking in themselves or lacking loving themselves, it translates on camera. So it's like dead eyes, right? And to me, it's like I could look at a photo of, and it's happened, of like an actual traditionally beautiful person who everyone in the in magazine world would say, like, this person looks beautiful because of XYZ, but I can see deeper and go, there's something missing. And it's more like the energy within their eyes, if that sounds, I'm trying to
totally. So it's more how they show up in the photo shoot, where
because they could actually like look at themselves and pick apart every perceived physical flaw, or they could look perfect, but actually I've seen them, like I see beyond their face. It's like I see their soul, which sounds very cheesy or weird, but it's almost like that I can photograph them, and the beauty comes from within. And it shows on the outside, to me. Not to everyone. To the
and I can see that you see that, because I've seen your photos are always beautiful and they're picturesque and everything can seem flawless, but I could see in some photos, some people just look lifeless.
Yes.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone then who, is nervous about being on camera, but they want to feel beautiful? What advice, or how do you get them to be comfortable?
So it always, for me, so when I first started doing photography, it was like, well, it was 13 years ago. So when I remember, I was working for a corporate company and my boss gave me his camera and like a long lens, and I just zoomed in, and it was this moment of like a mother and daughter. They just had this moment, and I was like kind of off to the side, and I looked at the camera and I was like, oh my God, I love that. Like that to me, and it was almost from a documentarian perspective. And then once I started getting into like portrait photography and weddings, I started realizing I can't just be a fly on the wall. Like people want to be posed, or they want to be photographed in the best light and things like that. So, and then I also started to kind of have conversations with people and ask them, because there's a ton of psychology that goes into photography and the insecurities and that kind of stuff. So I'd start to ask people, just about themselves and about their perceived flaws and their insecurities. And it's funny, like as time goes on now and we're in this digital social media age, it's almost like everyone knows what side they are. Everyone knows how to stand. Everyone knows the skinny angle. And that wasn't that way like 13, 14 years ago, right? I think before Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. Right. So it's, for me, it starts with a conversation and just kind of getting to know them personally, and then finding out what kind of makes them tick and what makes them insecure about their physical selves. And then I try to make them feel better in the sense of like everybody's kind of nervous before they get their photo taken, even if it's not a natural thing. So the second a camera, I mean, even me, I'm doing this today and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
The second there's that camera, it's almost like this barrier, and they just freeze. Like their face, I just see it in their eyes. So I almost like just take the camera away from my face and just have a conversation with them so that I'm not losing them, right?
Right.
And the other thing is just like preparing for the shoot. So it depends on what kind of photo shoot we're talking about. I do a lot of headshots. There's a lot of corporate people that come in and are almost embarrassed about like looking good for their photo because they're intellectual and successful. So why would they care about something so, shallow, I guess? But okay. It's almost like you're still showing your best self out there, whether it's corporate headshots. And then for things like boudoir and portrait and even family, I've learned that like if the mother isn't happy with how she looks in the photo, then she's not going to either buy that print, or she's not going to be happy, and she's not going to come back. Right. So it really is. I mean, as sad as it sounds, it's the females that's my target audience that I'm trying to kind of please. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, I'm trying to make them feel comfortable, but also undo the cultural damage of everything that's been done. So it's like, you don't have to look like, I can tell them as many times as I want that you look beautiful, but if they don't believe it, or if they see like a roll on their stomach or wrinkles or whatever, they're not going to like the photo. But the camera's a mirror, right? So I always say the camera is a mirror. If you look in the mirror before you come to a photo session and you're not happy, let's wait, or else it's a waste of your money and it's a waste of time. Right. And you have to meet me halfway to bring the sparkle,
Yeah, that's such an interesting thing, because what you just said is to meet you halfway, because I think from what you've shared is that people kind of expect miracles.
Oh yes, magician. I'm the magician.
Because your photos, to be fair, are so beautiful that if
it's misleading, I feel
they show up and they expect you to do this
the work.
This miracle of before
wizard.
And after.
Yeah.
And I've seen photos lately, and all this AI stuff, like that's
just
a different conversation. But like,
especially with a young daughter, right?
Oh my
gosh.
I feel like
it's changing the way your brain, even people my age, even with the knowledge that we have, I'll look at myself on like a filter and go, oh, I like it. Like I love this light.
Who doesn't like it?
Yeah.
But then it doesn't look like you.
And it's not good for your psyche. Like it's actually like damaging, right? And we have the tools to know. So imagine like these young girls who are on social media, and even though they're taught, I will say that generation they're less exposed to the cultural kind of damage, I say, as we are, because they're taught to like love your bodies, it be inclusive, love yourself, being different is like, we weren't taught that, right? It's like you look a certain way and you I grew up like that. Like my mother was like, your hair's always has to be done, your nails always have to be done, and it's just sort of the way.
Right.
Like you can get angry at it, but it doesn't make it any less true. This is the way society is, right? We're not going to change that.
Right.
I forget the question though. Something,
That's okay. No, I was just saying that it's so interesting that people expect you to make miracles happen, and then you see this AI stuff of them morphing.
Oh yeah.
The way someone looks completely
into like a cartoon.
Yeah, that doesn't look realistic at all. And then you have these little kids growing up and saying, I want to look like that.
Right.
And that could never happen. So it is, I mean, yeah, on one hand, you're saying they have the better kind of cultural
advantage.
influence
Yeah.
and that they're taught to love themselves. But at the same time, it's very confusing when what you look like.
It does matter. It matters in life, right?
No, it matters. But what I'm saying is that when they're using these apps that they have access to change the way they look to be something else, that's also confusing.
It is confusing.
Yeah.
It's mixed message, right?
Yeah.
So it's like be yourself and you know, almost like from the feminist point of view too, which is like, you know, like let's just like kill the patriarchy, like the whole beauty industry and the whole, you know, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Right. But it doesn't make it. It's not going to go away. Beauty industry is like $1 billion industry. Someone's benefiting, right? And it's usually because it's like taking down our self-confidence and you know, you're not worthy unless you, like every other ad on TV or magazine, or it's like weight loss or like wrinkles and like I have the mental capacity to understand this is a ploy. This is not the truth. However, it's still, right? Like I'm not going to show up to an interview today in my like sweatpants without my face did, and it's not happening. So I almost feel a bit like a hypocrite because yes, like you are pushing this like feminist agenda where it's like you are strong and you don't have to subscribe to the social norms, but then like even the feminists get their hair done.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's these mixed messages. Yeah. At the end of the day, we want to look beautiful.
Yeah.
And we want to feel beautiful. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to want to.
And you don't have to be ashamed of that either. Like you can still be a feminist and look beautiful. You can still be strong and successful and get your hair done. It doesn't have to be this or this, right? I feel like it's such a what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's such a, it has to be such a, what's the word?
Black or
like
white?
Extreme. Yeah, it's like just such a what's the word? That help
Polarized.
Polarized. Yes, like a polarized. It doesn't have to be like that. But you know, my industry as well benefits from people wanting retouching. Like I have people saying like, do you offer like a nip tuck package? And it's kind of funny because I'm like, well, I do, and it's going to cost you because it takes me like hours and hours. So I actually do it. It's a nip tuck package, which when I'm doing it,
I didn't even know that
kind of makes
in
me
photography.
Kind of makes
surgery.
No, yeah, I know. I'm just like a jill of all trades.
Yeah.
But no, so it's just like, but then there's a fine line. Like if you're a realtor and you are using photos from 10 years ago, and they're all over your billboards, and you want me to make you look 20 years old, and you're seeing people in real life, and they're like, you don't look like that. It's bizarre to me, right? And same with like, you know, the brides and the portraiture, but then it goes too far where I actually just look at a photo and automatically take out everyone's perceived flaws, going, everyone wants their wrinkles gone. And I've had some people say to me, can you, like, it's too much. I like my moles, I like my freckles, I like my wrinkles. Now it doesn't look like me. So now I'm like, oh, maybe I have to actually have this conversation. It goes back to the conversation of how do you feel? What do you want the end result to look like? And again, it's like realistic expectations, not, you know, that I'm not the person for you if you want me to, because it kind of doesn't align with what I feel is true. I feel like I'm like a hypocrite. I'm like, feel a certain way and I'm doing something else. And sometimes it's just a job, right? Yeah. My partner always says, like, you're set, like, who cares? It's just, why do you always have to make everything so personal? I'm like, well, I'm an empath and I feel things, but I also like, you know, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Yeah. I mean, I think the conversation that you started around
making people feel comfortable, you said.
Yes.
I know. See, it's veered off.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But I think just going back to the conversation of, is it okay to feel beautiful? And that getting all these mixed messages of, you know, on the one hand, we have these feminists saying, no, you don't need to,
impress
justify men.
Yeah.
You do your own thing, and who cares about what they say, but we do care.
And also
we
the funny thing is,
beautiful.
I feel like women aren't doing it to impress men. They're doing it for the approval of other women.
No, it's
like
true.
What men say to you, like, oh, I love your lashes, or did you get highlights? I love your sweater. Like, men aren't like,
no,
they're basic.
It's definitely,
no offense.
Yeah.
Like, don't cancel me for this. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't notice the things that we're doing it for other women. And that's also part of the patriarchy problem, because we're like pitting it's like pit women against each other, because culturally and historically it's like we're all vying for this job, and it does matter. The statistics show if you're more attractive and you're perceived as more attractive, or you have
advantages in life.
You have advantage.
Yeah,
like,
you do.
And listen, don't shoot the messenger. It's not fair, but it doesn't make it any less true.
Right.
So,
and having goals, or whatever we call it, to want to look more beautiful, to want to be more confident, I don't think we should be ashamed for it too. Because like, even when I put out, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds.
Yeah. You have to have a disclaimer. Like, it's for health reasons, not for vanity reasons.
Right.
Why do you even have to explain that?
It's true.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any disclaimer. I said, yeah, it is 100% for vanity.
Yeah.
Even when I got my face done and I got my vampire facial,
yeah,
I'll say, yeah, it's for vanity, and just say it. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel beautiful,
because you're going to be judged regardless. You're judged if you let yourself go. Like, I have like a lot of friends with influence and not influencers, but influential, who are on social media and everything, and they're criticized for having too much work done. But then if they let themselves go, it's like, oh God, they're hags. So you can't really win. It's like, so if you're not going to be able to win, then just do what the fuck you want anyways, right? Like,
no, it's true. And
beep.
And the conversation really is about, like, yeah, you can feel beautiful, and it's okay for vanity's sake, but
it's also like like the definition of beautiful. Like, what does that feel like? Like, what does that even mean? Is it
what
just
does that
like,
mean to you?
What does being
beautiful mean
being
to you?
Beautiful? Well, like, I mean, for me personally, I feel like, so I actually did give this some thought, because you had asked me, about, and that was the last question that I gave thought to, because it's like, I don't look at myself in the mirror. I'm too busy working and looking at everyone else's and trying to fix everyone else's stuff, that I actually had to go inward and think, what are moments in my life when I feel that way?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I absolutely love when someone captures me on my camera in a candid way, because I am also very aware of like what angles look good. And so even when I hire other photographers, which doesn't happen very often, to photograph me, I still try to step in and I have to stand back and go, like, let them do their job. But they photograph in a different, or they see things in a different way than I would. Mm-hmm. And so when they photograph me in a candid way, like, I love that. I think, oh my God, I look so, when I look happy, or when I feel happy, right?
Because your soul is captured.
Yes, exactly. And it's almost like it's more the inside that shines. Like, and I don't know, someone else may look at that and be like, ooh, she has 5 chins. And I have the best bride ever, who she's like, I love all my chins. So when I capture her, she's always like this in like a fit of laughter. But I'm just so used to either rejecting that photo, because if I give it to a bride, they're like, ugh, and that makes the cut. Right. Then they'll show everyone what a terrible photographer I am, or like how awful, they want to sue me because they need psychological help to happen. Or, so now my mindset is like, and you're nodding because right? Could write a book on that whole other thing. But now it's like, I'm almost like too cautious, going like, I better not include this. And I did a workshop maybe a month ago, with this young photographer who actually mentored with me, and now she's like killing it. And so I went down to Toronto, and she was doing like a boudoir thing. And I kept kind of correcting the model, or the real person, and like, if her chin was down, and she's like, you're interjecting the actual like vibe of what's going on. Like, you're now she's in her head, where I'm just so used to, my clientele is like in their 40s or 50s, and they want to be cried. They don't want to be seen with 5 chins. So I don't know, again, it's a conversation and it's a personal thing. But from my standpoint, it's like, I feel like can't win. And that's part of the exhaustion of it, is because it's like how I perceive you. I remember one picture I took of you out on this porch. I don't know if you were holding Wesley, and you had all this light in your beautiful hair. And I'm like, and I just loved it. Right. And those are the moments where I'm like, I just see you and I see you in this light. And whereas someone else might be like, oh God, like I don't like that side of my face or my crooked nose, or it's a problem.
Yeah.
And it makes me lose the love of what I'm doing. It really does, because it's just like, well, you don't like what you see in the mirror. So how can I possibly capture you in a light that you're going to want? Like, why are you even here?
Right.
So,
yeah, it's kind of like for you a clash between two worlds.
Yes.
Where you want to capture the natural beauty.
Yes.
But then
in a posed way.
But then like, you make a living off
yes.
capturing only beautiful photos, and
yes.
you'll get criticized if it's not
exactly
beautiful.
Yeah.
And it really
takes the love out of why I started, which was just to be like, just to document what I see and also how I feel when I'm documenting that moment. Like I think it was Annie Leibovitz or some photographer said something about when I tell you I want to photograph you, it's not because I think you have a pretty face, it's because I want to know you. Mm-hmm. And I want to, and so it's such an interesting dance between photographer and client. Sometimes, honestly, it's flat, it's lifeless. I can't, like I walk away going like, that totally sucked. I know with like absolute certainty, I wake up every day. I still get nervous. I can't sleep the night before a shoot, even after 13 years. Yep. And my partner's always just like, oh, well, that's what makes you good. That was what makes you care. It's like any artist.
Like Adele goes before on stage. Yep. She gets nervous, and apparently she used to throw up before she gets on stage. Yeah. I just ran a workshop on the weekend, same thing. Like before I show up for these things because we care. And
I guess the opposite is to just phone it in and show up and you know, I mean, it's not perfect every single day, but I do know I try every time, right? And if someone isn't there, I can see it. And if it's just not going well, and it's like, let's just do this another time. Because I mean, weddings are different. You can't reschedule that, obviously. Or I mean, anyway, I've done people's second weddings, and
this is true.
Same bride, different venue, but it's interesting. Like and I, even just in a short amount of time, even with my like little mini sessions, I can understand a dynamic quite quickly as to like who's happy, what marriage is not making it, what the actual real problem is. Not to deflect from my, I'm trying to do the best I can, but sometimes when I get criticized, I'm like, I've really learned how to take that and not take it to heart, because I go, what's really going on here? Like, are you really unhappy with the photo, or is it something else, right?
So let's talk about that. What is really happening? Because I find, with my practice as a physiotherapist, I talk to so many women who have energy issues, or they're in pain, or they have challenges with their physical health.
Yep.
And something that always comes up is how happy they are in their body and how confident they are with their body. And most of the time, they're not happy. They're just always criticizing themselves for something. And, even just something as little as when they come in and they don't shave their legs or something.
The first thing
like that.
is
they're like,
apologizing.
Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't shave my legs. I was like, they're not so sharp that they're going to hurt my hands. Yeah. Like, you don't have to apologize. And so they're not feeling confident, and they're feeling apologetic in their bodies. And I just think that's just...
You need to have, sorry to interrupt, this spray tan girl here in Grimsby. She has a sign that says, you do, in this room or in this space, you do not apologize for like hair, stretch marks, bruises, dry skin, like rolls, like we're all human. Like I don't even see it. So just God. Please leave that at the door.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, like, because obviously I'll always too. Yeah, I just did a photo shoot yesterday with like my best friend from childhood, and they're just already apologizing. Like, I'm so unphotogenic, or I'm so like uncomfortable in front of the camera. And it's true. Like, you can see that. It's my job to get beyond that. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. And I mean, that's the truth. But, other times I have 5 minutes to make someone comfortable. So if I've got a corporate headshot, I need to nail that shot, and I need to get paid. So, I mean, right?
Yeah. So women are just constantly sorry for how they look. Yeah. And, I think it comes down to learning to look in the mirror and love what you see. And we call
that mirror work in photography. Like, you actually have to look in the mirror, and honestly, I can't even do it. Even when I'm getting my hair done and their hairdresser talks to me through the mirror, I turn around and like I can't look at myself when I'm speaking. It's a real thing, right?
Yeah, it is. And I've done this work with my clients where I get them to look in the mirror, and obviously at first, the first things we go to are flaws.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, an extra 10 pounds here. I wish I could lose this here. I wish I could smooth this out. And, what I would say to them to increase your confidence to start is to learn to love yourself and learn to love who you see and what you see exactly as you are right now.
How?
Is you keep looking.
Okay.
You have to actually start by looking, because most of the time people will look and they don't look,
or they don't
depth.
See.
They don't
they
look
they
and
look,
see.
but they don't see.
They look and see their flaws, and they look and then they look away.
Yeah.
And then
It's
they're
very uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable. If you've done eye gazing work before, it's with someone else and you're staring intently into someone's eyes, and you can see the depths of their souls, and you see
and you almost see yourself through their eyes.
And you do see yourself through their eyes, and vice versa. But I get people to do that with themselves in the mirror. And that's, for some, even harder because people don't know who they are, and they don't
recognize, like they don't, because the other thing is sometimes someone could feel beautiful. This is the flip side, right? I always like to see both sides. It's like someone could actually feel beautiful inside and they don't look like it outside. That's a totally different conversation, because
I don't know many people who feel beautiful on the inside but don't feel beautiful on the outside.
I think I would say women in their like 50s and 60s who know themselves and like are fine with who they are. They just are literally like, oh man, I had like 3 kids and like, my body doesn't look like I wanted. And those will be the first ones to not apologize for going to get surgery or whatever, because they they felt good, but they didn't recognize themselves in the mirror. So that's a totally different conversation. But I know what you're saying. Most people will look in the mirror.
Most people who aren't happy with who they are inside, it comes out. Yeah. As you said, like they're soulless or they're lifeless, and it comes out in the picture. So, that's one way to start, is to look in the mirror naked.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
you didn't say that the first time. It's a different conversation.
You can start without being naked, but and
like a full length mirror.
Sure. And look for the things you love.
Okay.
Because that's what our go-to is, to naturally look for the flaws.
You have to undo what we've been taught.
So the first thing is because like in 5 minutes you can't go and get a surgery, you can't go put makeup on or whatever it is to change, because we're always looking to change part of ourselves and then love ourselves.
Oh,
right?
True. Yeah.
But the reality
if only this, then I will.
Yeah. There's conditions on self-love.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And self-love to me is really beauty.
Yeah.
And so if I look like this, if I change this, if I lose this, then I'll feel beautiful.
Yeah. And it's never. You
never.
see it even in the people who are addicted to plastic surgery, because it's always like, oh, well, I'll get more done. And then,
it's never
then they look in the mirror and they go, oh my God, now it's like too much. When is it?
You can't go back.
Yeah. And if you're chasing, especially youth, right? Youth is like, that's the golden prize that everyone's chasing. And it's like, I look at people who are, that's the only thing that they have to kind of chase in terms of goals or whatever. Like we're all going to get old. Like even the most beautiful celebrities with access to the most amount of money and doctors, like we're not getting out of this.
Right.
Like,
we're all going to age.
Yeah.
And really, when I work with clients to help with their confidence, I get them to look in the mirror and learn to love themselves exactly as they are. And it's a hard journey.
Yes.
Because
it doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't happen overnight. We've spent a lifetime of hating ourselves or criticizing ourselves. You're not going to learn to love yourself overnight, but at least you can start. And that doesn't mean that you still can't have goals to lose weight, to be healthy, to have nicer skin and all that stuff. You can still do that.
But your happiness cannot be contingent on X. For anything, not just beauty, but like happiness. I'll be happy if I find a partner. I'll be happy if I get that amazing job, bigger house. But like it's a culture of like not being present. It's like only if and when. And then that you're always chasing this elusive X. Like
for
like
sure.
Situation X, which like we all know like that doesn't fill the hole, right? And for some people it goes way deep. Like it's either cultural, like or it's like like a parental thing, right? You don't have the approval of your parent or
Your
a
mother,
sibling, your
usually.
mother. It's usually, I love
It's
my mom,
usually-
but it's always a mom's fault,
Yes.
usually.
And
Because
if
it's,
you're watching, Mom.
yeah, I love my mom,
Yes.
Lola, I love you, but you
it's,
know, it's,
yeah, it stems from childhood, especially being girls and now women. Like,
yeah,
it's our worthiness, especially our generation,
Yeah.
our worthiness is incumbent on how we look.
no, but also approval, right?
Yeah,
Like, so
our
like
worthiness,
this is
approval.
mom, I even still,
Yeah.
I'm 46 years old and I'm like, well, you know, what's my mom gonna say? Like,
100%.
it's deep within,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Not dad, because that, for me, that's a different situation, but I feel
But it's
like
the mom, for
yeah,
sure. Like,
yeah,
my mom, still to this day, I love her and I get it. That's just
yeah,
how she was raised. And it's in our culture. It's just like when you haven't seen someone for a long time, it's not, oh, how are you? How are your kids? The first comment is,
what do
you
you do?
look fat,
Oh,
or you look skinny, or it's a comment on your weight or your appearance.
really?
Yes,
Like when
in
you say
our
culture, you mean like
Asian culture?
Yeah, okay.
And my whole life,
Wow.
me being like this, I haven't really changed too much.
Yeah.
Being told that I was fat.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's
a different conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. But it's just the comment is always on your looks.
Yeah.
On
Even
how you
Oprah. Oprah has like the bazillion dollars, and she says like the one thing that she cannot stop micro focusing on or hyper focusing on is her weight. And she's gone up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah, we've seen
And
it.
you cannot like I don't know. It's just something that I feel like we can preach it all you want and say like, well, like love yourself and it doesn't matter. But like, I don't
It
know
does
what
matter.
the answer is.
We can't say it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because we all know it does matter.
Yeah.
Looks matter. Beauty matters. And it matters to women more. And I'd say it
Yes.
doesn't matter for
Yeah,
men,
yeah.
but it does matter more for women. And it's okay to want to be more beautiful.
Yes.
But not at the sacrifice or expense of our worthiness.
And like self-loathing. Yeah,
Right.
100%.
Because I feel like being and feeling beautiful and confident is a very important part of your health.
Yeah.
It's an important part of your mental health, because when you have confidence, and you were talking earlier about opportunities, it's like if you feel beautiful and you have that confidence.
Yeah. Well, if
you
you
feel
look
like-
successful, you're going to be successful. Someone
Yeah.
said that by osmosis, right?
Yeah,
But
for
also I
sure.
feel like the new beautiful, like now, like, you know, this messaging that we're getting is the new beautiful is to have good energy. So it's
Yes.
almost like to like back in the day, being beautiful in the 80s was like 6 feet tall, blonde hair, blue eye, like whatever. And now it's like, but do they have good energy? Do I even on the dating
Yeah.
scene, like I remember thinking to myself, like, you could be hot and
Right.
like, and then I meet you in person and I go, I just don't understand. You're so attractive, but I'm actually just like not into it all. And it's like, then there's someone who physically doesn't even match what you think you are interested in, but there's something there.
Chemistry.
And there's a chemistry and there's an energy. And I
Okay.
think that's part of being healthy these days is like
Yes.
mind, body, soul, all.
Well, your soul
in one.
is your energy.
Well,
it's
yes,
you
yeah.
know, and
But
that
in
goes
terms
down to what you said at the beginning, which is when you meet someone, you can see their soul,
Yes.
essentially.
Yeah.
And that's their energy. It's like if you have good energy, however we want to define that,
Yeah, and
it's beautiful
Yeah.
and it's radiant and people want to be around that. It's
Yes.
kind of contagious or
Yeah. It's like
or
the sunny,
magnetic.
like, yes, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know how I would define that, I guess, is like for me, I mean, I live in a completely different world than you in terms of like I don't do that for a living to capture that. But I think what we have in common is that we can see
The truth.
the truth.
Yes.
And we
We're
can
truth
see-
seekers.
Yes.
100%.
And we can see when someone has good energy
Yes.
or when they're truly beautiful.
And
when
good
there's-
meaning like true energy. Not like, oh, I'm just
Happy.
like sunny,
No.
whatever. Just
Yes.
meaning like you're real.
Yeah.
Like it's a real, and I think that this is why we are in very different industries. And I very much respect and love, and I'm always gravitating to anything that you're doing to Beamer Falls, because it's a magical place where you can just like leave all that at the door and you really do come here and feel like, oh my God, the weight of the world is off my shoulders. And I think what I do is the total opposite, which is like, it's curated. It's false. It's
not
dangerous.
false.
It's not false, but it's dangerous because it's painting a picture of, and that's a whole different conversation about social media, but it's like, it's painting a picture of what's not actually the truth. And that's not who I am. And even saying it out loud right now
Mhm.
makes me feel really good, because I feel like I've been in this, like, not funk, but I was reading something yesterday about when you're feeling like very dark right now, it's because you're not in alignment with like this world that we're living in. And I feel like it's just gotten like exponentially worse since COVID. Like since COVID's been over, the world has just like gone back. I was like, well, what was that 3 years of self-healing and work? Like, where'd that all go? Now we're just running back to the full speed.
And you're not. So you made this announcement, so I think it's public, right? That you're transitioning out of the wedding industry. Are you saying that? Is that
I would say that I'm selectively choosing who I want to photograph in terms of weddings. I'm not saying I'm never photographing weddings again, because I love weddings. Like I love I love everything about weddings is beautiful. Right. And it's
the idea of weddings.
The idea. And also like it is a really good gig, right? Like you're part of someone's most important day. Everyone's mostly happy, but I also feel like I've seen like the dark side of it, and it's like it's not pretty in terms of like the bridesmaids and in terms of the like how people want to be perceived, how they want their day to look, and it's not actually what's happening. And I am a magician to some degree, but not when it comes to, I can't photograph happiness, I can't Photoshop happiness. If you are miserable, you're not in love. Like I can't, and I would say 99% of my clients, that's not the case, but the really bad ones kind of spoil it and as I get older, I'm just like, I don't know that I need to do this anymore. At the beginning, I was like, I'll take everything that comes my way and be grateful for it. And now I think, that's what time allows you to do, is be more selective and pick and choose. Freedom. And also just, I still want to do weddings, but something that I believe in, and maybe not these grand, opulent, I don't know. Yeah. I shouldn't say that, because I mean, there are people who do have big weddings and are still in love. And my favorite were always like the destination weddings, because you would just go away and like didn't matter. Right. So I still do that. Like, get married in Italy, I'll be there for sure.
Well, let's shift gears kind of back to boudoir pictures. Okay. Because I think, we were starting to talk about being naked and vulnerable, and that's something you do. Tell me about what happens when you are doing something so intimate with someone or capturing something so vulnerable.
Everyone's drunk. No, I'm just kidding. Everyone needs vodka. Tequila makes everything better. So boudoir. So I just actually did a boudoir marathon in Niagara with a hair and makeup artist, and we rented this big, beautiful space. And I had not too many women, because it's also very exhausting. Like to me, I don't want to rush through that. Typically, I wouldn't do mini sessions, because I feel like it takes a couple of hours for people.
It's psychological session.
It's psychological. It is psychology. And by the end, people are, usually at the beginning, I've had some people can't even like look at me in the eye, and then by the end, they're like full naked, and that's their idea, right? Because they're like, well, we have 5 minutes left, and they're just like, well, why not, right? But that to me is a compliment to myself, because I feel like I feel like I have that advantage over a male when it comes to boudoir, because I feel like they're just more comfortable. It's safer, and and that kind of stuff. And so, what was the question again?
Well, I just was asking, like, how is that experience different than a regular photo? Because they're so vulnerable. I mean, they're naked, and you know, we're already judgmental and self-critical with just in clothing. Yes. Where we have cover-ups. So when you're completely naked, like I would imagine it's
so I don't start them off completely naked. So it's a process. So I initially send them like this whole detailed list of things that they may want to consider, doing. They don't have to, but I just know that it makes them feel good to have your hair and makeup done. Why not? I mean, you're running around all the time for the kids and your husband and yourself and your work and whatever. So why not treat yourself to feeling good and looking good that day? So that's part of it. And then a list of kind of outfits or whatever. Sometimes it's just like a white shirt and a bed sheet and a window. It doesn't have to be a big production. And then, so I'll give them kind of a checklist of things that they might want to consider, and then give them a pep talk. And then they're always nervous. And so when we had this little boudoir session, we had some like champagne, and then the makeup artist, who is very important to have someone, because she's feeling their energy and she's kind of calming them down. And I'm part of that as well. So we're all already having a conversation. And then when it starts to, again, the camera goes up, everyone's just like nervous. So I'll start them off in like either a shirt or like a sheet or a dress or something, and then just slowly just kind of move. There's always music. I pick a playlist and get them to choose music that makes them feel good, feel sexy, right? And it's just not stagnant. I had a boudoir session done with my husband when I was married with my husband and I once, and it was like the worst experience ever.
Oh gosh.
It was so quiet. Nobody said anything. There was no music, and it was freezing cold. And I remember thinking like, is this right? Like, there was no feedback. And I remember thinking, I won't do this to someone else. Right. So that's part of it. And then by the end, you show them, also showing them some photos on the back of the camera. Like, I mean, that could make or break it. If it's terrible, if they don't like it, their whole mood changes. So I'm careful with that. I'll quickly show them like something that I think looks beautiful. And then honestly, like I just had someone, she had a top 40 and when she's 40 list. And one of the things was to go to Africa. One of the things was a boudoir session. So she booked a boudoir session with us, and she just was like, honestly, like, what am I waiting for? I'm always waiting to be enough, thin enough, young enough, whatever. And she's like, I am enough, and this is it. Whether there's roles, I mean, I'm not, I am going to pose people in a way that's flattering.
Right.
That's part of my job. But not looking completely not like yourself. Yeah. So, and I feel like it's been really amazing feedback, and it's like life-changing for some people.
Yeah, for the clients I have that have confidence issues, I really recommend that they do a photo shoot, especially a boudoir photo shoot, because with the right photographer, with someone like you feel so much more beautiful and confident. It's something that
if you can feel beautiful like that, then you can take the world in like...
Yeah, totally. And you're reaching outside of your comfort zone. Yeah. You're completely vulnerable. And I think that every woman should do it. Whether or not you feel beautiful or not is to do that. Yeah. Because I feel like it really transforms the way they see themselves. And even though we didn't do a boudoir shot, just the way you photographed me transformed the way I saw myself.
And also, it's not getting any better. Like, we're all getting older, and we're all like, so I always tell my clients,
it could be getting better.
It could be getting better, but I have like moms who are just like, I'm gonna wait. And I said, all you're gonna end up doing if you're waiting to lose 5 to 10 pounds is getting older, and you're gonna be old and skinny, and your kids are gonna be taller than you. If we're talking about family shoot,
it's true.
Like, it's too like, and I understand, but also like, what are you waiting for, right?
Yeah, like, and when I heard this once, it was like, when you're 60, you're gonna look at photos and you're gonna criticize yourself, and then you're gonna look back in your 50s and you're like, oh,
what was wrong with I
was skinnier then, I was happier then, I
should have appreciated it.
And so if you're always gonna look back and think we were better when we're younger, let's just start now and start look at the photo and be like, yeah, that looks good. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences as I would say you're a beauty photographer. You capture beauty in all its forms, in all different industries, and I really value the experience and your art, your artistry.
Yeah, thank you.
So are there any final thoughts or things you want to add about kind of the beauty industry?
Can we go, can we talk about influencers?
Yeah,
or
let's
do we
talk about
feel, okay. So I want to preface this by not hating on influencers. I feel like influencers are getting a bad rap. In certain cases, I can understand. So I do understand that they're making a living, and also I have directly benefited from some of these influencers in terms of their shoots, because they have access to good locations and beautiful things, and so it does make my job better or easier.
What is an influencer exactly? Because like, I'm actually not on Instagram to follow. I don't follow anybody. I don't like anybody.
I feel like an influencer right now is what celebrities have always done. Celebrities are like, buy this product because I'm backing it. Because,
so models? Are we talking about?
No, I don't think models. I think because there's influencers in there's mom influencers. There's so they're what is cleaning, their job? Like a cleaning company, for example, would be considered influential. So
but they're not influencers.
They are though, because there's companies that are sending them products that are like if you place this product and talk about this like Dove detergent,
Okay.
then we're going to send you more free product. We're also, it's a job.
Okay.
They are paid to speak about products. So it's
Okay.
no different than
people who
product
promote
placement
products.
in movies. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I could be totally wrong, but I feel like that's
just
my
wanted to make
take
sure
on it.
we're on the same page with that. Okay,
And so it's influential, but they're getting paid to
Okay.
have that influence, right? And so I, for example, have photographed some influencers. I'm not going to lie when I say that it's a beneficial relationship. So the other thing is a lot of times they get things for free. So the expectation is, yes, I will give you your photo shoot, but you are going to share the experience and hope it's a good experience with your 2 million followers, right?
Yeah.
And it's beneficial. But I think the problem is when it comes to influencers and beauty is that it's not always true. Like you are advertising or endorsing a product that you're not necessarily being honest. I don't know that that's the truth.
You mean?
Yeah, like do you think Jennifer Aniston uses Aveeno cream from Walmart on her face? I always looked at that ad and I was like give me a break, right?
Yeah.
So
and vitamin water or smart water makes
right,
their skin
and
beautiful.
so but the thing is that like, and I'm not saying like maybe people do feel that way, but it's just become like one big advertisement. So you go on and you log into social media and it's like buy this and I almost feel like that even with my service. Like there's so many photographers pushing these agenda and reels and buy this, it makes me sick. I feel like I just like, this is not why I got into this. And so when it comes to seeing like influencers and beauty, I feel like the problem I have with it is they are painting a life of luxury and opulence, and I'm jet setting around the world and I'm getting this, but like half the time they're still in their parents' home.
Oh yeah,
it's not the truth.
That is, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy.
It's like what are you like? What are you trying to prove and to who? Because also, well, like there's teenagers out there who on there we may not believe them, but the direct correlation between depression and social media in teens, like I mean, I don't know how many studies have been done on it. It has to be a bazillion to know that like even us as adults look at it and go, man, why do I feel so down? Like, and I've just been sitting here scrolling. It's like, put that down, go outside, because this is like not the truth. But I think that is the problem, which is like, it's not, as truth seekers, are you being honest? It's one thing, like people will always say to me, oh, like I come on your page because you're actually so like almost too truthful sometimes. Like my mother's like, can you not do that and say that? Like you're really exposing your insecurities. I'm like, am I going to die from that? Am I going to die from someone's judgment? Like, but I do actually speak about things that I truthfully believe in. And I think people, like I could be influential, not an influencer. Of course.
I think people care about the
truth.
And people want to know what's real. And I think when people are trusting, a 20-something-year-old influencer, not to hate on influencers, that they're young and often.
And there's a place and they're making a living and someone's benefiting, people.
But there has to also be discernment from the viewer.
100%.
If you're going to believe everything you see. And
it's like watching the news. Like,
it's like
you have to know from what lens are you
exactly.
looking at it from.
And just when it comes to beauty, just having discernment of, is that beauty product going to be the thing that makes me look beautiful? Yeah. Absolutely not. There's no beauty product. No.
There's no magic potion.
There isn't.
Yeah.
There are things that can contribute, but it really comes down to, in my opinion, to how you see yourself. And how you see yourself is
holistically
is influenced by your health holistically. If you feel beautiful, you're going to look beautiful.
Yeah.
If you feel healthy, you're going to look beautiful. Yeah. Like it comes down to,
I don't feel beautiful after wine night with my friends. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah,
like I don't feel beautiful.
Right.
I don't look beautiful. It's like literally like I'm not nourishing.
Like crap.
Yeah, like you have to nourish your body, and I think that's like I learned this from you. Like just like the whole nourishment piece, which is like nourish your body, nourish your mind, and that's why I love this place too. And I always have. Like you come here and you just feel like the weight of the world is off you.
Yeah.
Right? And you're surrounded by nature and you're like, stripped down and literally like, who cares? Like my phone doesn't even work here. There's like barely any signal. So you really are just unplugging and walking away feeling better and different, I think.
Yeah. And it's, we're getting the distractions out of the way.
Yeah.
And you can make space for yourself to see yourself and, feeling beautiful.
Never saw myself naked here though. So like, I don't know. I've never experienced that here, but
There's
yeah.
time. Yeah. But yeah, to me, being beautiful. I mean, I grew up, as I said earlier, my mom has always been critical of me, not because she's a bad person, just that's how she was.
Best for you too.
Yeah, and that's how she was.
She wants you to succeed, and her definition is like, well, if you are fat, you are not. Yeah, like that's her. She's projecting her insecurities onto you, right?
And I remember even as a teenager, my friends would make fun of me because I couldn't walk by a mirror without stopping for 10 seconds and looking at it and
you
adjusting
really see
and stuff.
yourself.
Yeah. And I think,
not
I think people, when everybody does this, when you see a picture of a group shot, everyone
you go right to
automatically
yourself.
goes to yourself.
Yeah.
So let's not pretend that we don't care about how we look. We do,
yeah,
right?
No.
But I've always had that amplified because my looks have always been so criticized, like openly. Yeah. With family members, like aunts and my mother just criticizing me all the time, that I've always just had to look in the mirror. And, it's not like I didn't feel beautiful in my high school years or even in my 20s. I started to really feel beautiful in my 30s, this last decade of becoming a mother, but really that helped me to look within and see how I want her to see beauty.
You also do a lot of work in healing, and it's so funny. Like people will say to me, I always preach the work, and I remember Dave saying to me one day when I first met him, like, well, how do you do the work? And I'm like, well, funny you should ask. Here's a book right here by the holistic psychologist called How to Do the Work. Yeah. And it's true because you have to really, like, in order to heal and love yourself, like this is a journey. It's not just like you can't just go to a psychologist and get all the answers. You have to like forge your way through finding all the tools. And I think you've done that. Like you've done all the reading, you've done the podcast, you've done a lot of the inner healing. So that's another reason why you're an awesome coach, because it's not like you're just sitting on your throne going like, I'm going to give you all this advice, but I'm not actually living it, right? Like you embody what you preach.
Thank you.
And I do believe that. Like that's why people trust you, and I think that's why you're so successful and also like very happy. Like, it is an inside job, and it takes a lifetime to get there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've had a lifetime of not feeling good about myself, having insecurity, and wanting to change everything about myself, to the last decade of doing the work of being healthier, of wanting to be a better example. And I can be in that place where, I met a photographer one time and we were outside in the field, and I was like, hey, do you mind taking pictures of me naked? And I wasn't that person a decade ago. And to be honest, like I was
culturally
uncomfortable being naked even in front of my husband.
Yeah. I feel like that's a cult, like, and not to, I've had some kind of cultural things as well where people they're very, not prude, but very, what's the word? Like, oh my gosh, I can't think of the word. Like very modest. Yes. Like it's not, it's not really part of their heritage to.
Sure.
Like
I'm not saying everybody go get your photo naked by a strange man in the forest.
A woman.
That's not what I'm saying. Definitely don't do that. I'm not advocating for that.
God. Everything has to have a disclaimer these days, right? Like but I think it's so interesting. So are you going to talk about the retreat then, or?
Yeah, I mean, this is a conversation that we can go down. We could just talk forever. It's a very deep conversation to feel beautiful, to look beautiful. There's so many nuances to it. It's really about having a lifestyle. And I run retreats on, really they're called Be Beautiful, Be You. Yeah. And in these retreats, I mean, when we first started talking about it, I said, of course, I'm going to ask Wendy. She was like really the first person who I felt truly beautiful photographed. And so I said, I'm going to ask Wendy for sure. And then we had the conversation. You're like, okay, well, let's involve this makeup artist and let's bring in a hair person. I was like, no.
That's immediately where I went to, because that's my world, which is like, you don't want your photo taken without being all done. But that's the complete opposite of what this is.
Yeah, so because how you photographed me was just being outside in nature with my family.
No, untrue. I think you had lashes.
Well, I still have eyelashes.
Okay.
But not to get like professional makeup done. I'm not saying you have to be naked for these photo shoots. I'm not saying you can't wear makeup. Yeah. but to be yourself and to do your own makeup with how you see yourself and how you like to look in the mirror. Because the reason people get professional makeup done is because they do a better job at making you look at something.
And it's not to look like someone else. It's just to kind of enhance. If a good makeup artist will just enhance what you already have, not completely change. I mean, it's not theatrical makeup, right? So
and when I say like natural photos, I don't mean it's whatever. It's, you know, for some, this I kind of think
that will be like an organic, I hate that word, I feel like it's just overused, but I feel like it will be a candid, like I don't have a plan as to how I would go in and photograph that day. I feel like
it would be you doing exactly what you said earlier, documenting
from
a group of women who are diving deep into their soul of what it means when they look in the mirror and how they feel about themselves. And I think you're the perfect woman to capture that from the perspective you have of someone who just loves to capture beautiful moments.
I also love like when people cry. It sounds very weird and very strange because I always sometimes I think to myself how wonderful, not wonderful, but like when people are really at their emotional breaking point and there's tears, to me there's beauty in that. It's very taboo. Like I'm not going to show up to a funeral and like start shooting everyone crying, but like also what a beautiful moment that could be, and also a moment in time where it's like that's how you felt in that moment. And just like when you look at that picture, you're always going to remember either you had a breakthrough or you're a breakdown. Like it sounds very counterintuitive and strange, but like even when I'm really sad and had low points, I'm like, I wish someone could document this for me. Because I want to remember how I felt in this moment, and I never would feel that way again. Or the opposite, right? Like it's like this enlightening moment in this beautiful setting with a bunch of women, and you're running a retreat, and who knows? Like I don't really know what your course curriculum is, but I can tell you that I feel like it's probably something that will be life changing, and I love to document that. So
you know, I'm hopefully going to be running these retreats like on an ongoing basis. Because it's so important. It's been so important for me and transformative for me to feel beautiful because it, you know, goes into every area of my life. And I as I work with older women, I just find so many of them are not confident, don't feel good in their bodies. And I just, why not? You know,
I've done a lot of like even boudoir shoots with like breast cancer survivors who like lost their breast or are about to lose their breast, or divorced people who are just people in general who are like,
they're going through a transition or something. I remember.
And they're not doing it for someone else. They're doing it for themselves. Right?
I think you once captured this family and I think the guy was going to die.
Oh yeah, that was a wedding. Was it? I've had that a couple of times. One was, I was in the hospital, and that was actually, people always ask me like, what was your best moment? And I like, was it that when you were in, Italy or like at the Carlu or these mass? And I'm like, no, it was in this hospital when this father was like passing away basically, and he had his family around him. And those are the moments that,
that's beautiful.
Yes. To me, that's
beautiful. And I think we can agree on that.
Yes.
It's like what is real, what is true, not altered, as truth seekers. I think that is what I want to capture, in these retreats, that people can look at these experiences where they're really learning a lot about themselves and they're on their path to healing and connection and growth, and to have that captured.
Or if they don't know how to start the path to doing the work, like this is a good start. Like start here, right? We got to start somewhere, right? So that was so good. I loved that.
Well,
oh my gosh, I was like terrified, but it's not bad at all.
You're beautiful. I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you so much for coming here today.
Thanks,
and I'm excited to work together in helping women capture their beauty and feel beautiful and feel confident. So
this was a long time in the making too, because you and I very much align on a lot of things, and you've been on the other end of my camera, right? And I've also stayed here at Beamer Falls during my marriage breakdown and all different business transitions and all that. So I feel like we walk the walk, talk the talk, and so yay.
Well, I'm excited to work together on some of these collaborations, and if you want to know how you can get Wendy to capture your beautiful moments, you can reach her at the link below. Your website is
www.wendyelennaphotography.com, Wendy Elena Photo on Instagram, or I still have a Yahoo email address, and everyone's like, you need to get out of the dark ages. So that'll be in the works. But yes, through the website or through Instagram.
Amazing. Yeah. And you can find more about any beauty retreats. I have a mini course online. You can find the links below. Until then, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next video.
Oh my God, I love that.